Hello again, Genevieve, and thanks for getting these in. This is Andrew again. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to have a quick read through your essay with a couple of suggestions, and then I'm going to provide you with some smoothing, because already I can see that your structure is fine and that you've started to put together your paragraphs in a really, really nice way. But the sentences themselves need to be a little more smooth. Now, this is just because in the coherence and cohesion section of the mark scheme, it's important that sentences flow properly and that they're not mechanical or difficult to read in terms of grammatical range and accuracy as well. We need to make sure that our prepositions are always correct so that the relationships between our objects and our subjects are known. These are the sorts of things that give all of the syntax and the context to an essay and to a sentence. So let's have a quick read. So here, modern era of technological advancements has given people the opportunity to use the beneficial signs. Now, while that's sort of grammatically correct, it doesn't flow very well. Now, obviously, in order to explain what is proper flow, I'll just have to give you a few examples, because English, especially when it's spoken, but even when it's read, has a rhythm. You'll notice that when I speak, I don't stop necessarily between words. I keep making a continuous sound, and in order to do that, we have to use the correct articles, prepositions, and pronouns to make sure the flow and the speed and the rate of speech is good. And the same thing happens when people read writing. They need to be able to take the information in at an appropriate rate. So let's rewrite this first sentence. So the modern era of technological advancements has brought people many benefits. So brought, to bring in the past, has brought, past perfect, has brought people many benefits. So here, for instance, beneficial sides, it's not a phrase, but also it's always good to use fewer words. So beneficial sides, benefits, really is the same thing, so we should only be using the smaller version. So what we could say here is, while adjusting to technology is a clear part of our lives, because we are a person as well. We're not just referring to other people. While adjusting to technology is clearly has become a part of our lives. The human intellect has gained strength and an increased ability to improve, maybe. Although strength of intellect is it's not a very academic term, because it's not specific. It doesn't speak of anything. In what way is someone's intellect strong? Does that mean that they can problem solve well? Or does it mean that they can learn well? Or does it mean they have a lot of confidence in learning? So we need to really think about what our meaning is in the sentence, and then what is the best way to express that. Academic essay is about argument. So what is your opinion? How is it best to express that? And then what words do you use to put it on paper? But it's always starting with your opinion. Let's not try too hard to pass the exam. Let's try to do what the exam is measuring, which is essentially, how well can you function in an English-speaking environment? So if you were to go to a university in the UK now, how would you do? And IELTS says that if you're over a 7.5 or over a 7, let's say, you'll do just fine. But in order to do that, you have to be doing what they want. So it's things like the ability to understand everything that's said to you and respond appropriately, the ability to present information in a coherent manner so that everybody else can understand you. So these are the skills that we should be learning, and these come down to things like precision, accuracy, vocabulary, but always with a goal. You know, we're always trying to express ourselves better. So, the human capacity to adapt is in our nature, I would say, because the human capacity to adapt is in our nature. You don't need to include the word changes, because to adapt implies that you are adapting to change. You can't adapt to nothing, so you don't need changes because it's implied in the verb. This is largely because I would suggest personalizing this in terms of the other. So this is largely because people must accept the fact that modernization is a natural progression of society. A natural progression of society. The digital world, so let's have a quick read of this one sec. I'm not quite sure how letter writing comes into this. It's this here, when even before. It sounds like you're expressing shock or surprise that letter writing takes place before phones, something, but it's not very clear. So let's clear that up a bit. But your example then, so I would just not use that. I would just say for example, because this kind of sounds like you're telling people to do something. Take for example, it's a bit much. So for example, high-end phones such as iPhones are now being advertised in the market. See again, I'm not sure what this means. Does it mean... I like this though. So here, expressing that people don't know the difference between need and want is good. But two words for need and want is necessity and desire. They're more specific, more accurate, and they sound a little bit better. So you could refer to the fact that given the prevalence of technology, people really have forgotten the difference between necessity and desire, or have conflated the ideas of necessity and desire. To conflate, C-O-N-F-L-A-T-E, is to mix together two ideas by mistake. So to conflate two ideas. So people have conflated the ideas of necessity and desire. What a sentence. So I can see, again, like I said, that your structure is fine. You understand how to present argument, not a problem. But your arguments themselves must come out smoother. So let's have a quick scan through the rest of this. So I'll give you a couple of more examples of where the language is not quite academic enough. So popped up is not acceptable in an essay. It's the rise of, not the rise up of. This should be plural, so their minds. If it's there, it's many people, so it must be plural. Human interaction, not humane. Is now, so human interaction is now part of, you don't need this verb, is now part of mass communication, including devices and also I would refer back to the whole point of the word should is to question the moral imperative. Should humans do that? So it's up to you to argue what humans morally should do. And now to argue what they should do, you really should provide reasons as to why the action itself is good. So, should you not kill a person? Of course you should not kill a person. Why? Because that person would be a loss to their family, it would be a burden on you, and you as a prisoner would be a burden on society. So no, thus you should not kill a person. What is the moral imperative? Why should you not? Why not? So should humans adapt to technology, or should technology adapt to us? Which one should it be? So you've covered the point, is technology making us weaker or stronger, quite well. But it's not have humans adapted or have they not, it's should they in the future. Should we change ourselves for the machines, or should we build the machines entirely around us? So this is what I mean about ensuring that we pick up all of the syntax in the question, and that's carried by these words. Should. What is the imperative? What are we to do with our lives? So clear up some sentences. Let's get used to expressing our ideas a little bit clearer with some of the suggestions that I've given you. But let's move on to your second one and have a quick read through your task one. But like I said, well done. You've gotten the structure down. You know how to make an argument. We just need to pay some attention to smoothness and flow and style. So here, the bar chart illustrates the expected visitors. So here, this means that the visitors own the expectancy. So this is then what you're saying is that the visitors expect something, which it's not. The cities are expecting visitors. So the bar chart illustrates the expected visitors, or the projected visitors, in thousands, or the projected annual visitors in thousands from three large So I'd say here in North America. And we don't need to give any extra information. We don't need to tell people how big the countries are. In a task 1 response, we are only reading information from here, and we add no information ourselves. It must remain objective. So these are projections as well. They're not guesses, but they're estimates. So to say they will be is to express certainty, but there is no certainty there. These are what is expected to be. So this can all be condensed into one sentence. The bar chart illustrates the expected annual visitors in thousands to three to three countries in North America. I would then use a semicolon. Then refer to the cities. So we need a preposition here, don't we? Because we need to express the relationship between this and this. So the visits will be from London, Paris, Madrid and Istanbul in the year 2018. From. It is clear that the US represents the highest number of expected travellers by a large margin. That's okay, because that is a large margin. That is accurate. Followed by Canada and Mexico. In 2018, the most popular destination overall is Paris, and the least popular is Istanbul. Try to include some data in these. And here, we would do well, when we're using a list like this, we would do well to use a respectively phrase. And I mean here, look, you've said in America, and then said for Americans. But you mean two different things, don't you? Because if you was to say, if this definition of America was the same as this definition of America, you would be talking about, well, it wouldn't work. So this needs to be North America. We must be specific. The continent is North America. The country, or the both continents together, are the Americas. And Americans are usually referred to, it's usually how people from the United States are referred to. But then, Yeah, so here, this is what an IELTS examiner would describe as mechanically recounted data. So it doesn't seem to come together in any smooth way. It just needs to be, if information is grouped together, it means it's related. So it must be, if you're grouping information together, it must all be related. Because you're saying, you're starting this paragraph that for Americans, the most popular destination will be Paris, as 100,000 visits. Don't confuse numbers as well. You've written 100 and then written 1,000 in letters. Pick one convention and stick to it, because now you've swapped over to something else here. Consistency. Make sure that you are consistent in the way that you speak or the way that you write. And again, in 2018, Istanbul is expected to be, or is predicted to be, or is projected to be. We're referring to the fact that this graph is in the future, and it is projected visitors, expected visitors, estimated visitors. Yeah, so we need to vary up. What other words can we use for expected and visits? So expected, projected, estimated, all of those. Visits, I'm sure you can think of plenty of words for visits. We've got stay in, spend time in. There's lots of ways to talk about someone visiting a place. So let's vary that up somewhat. So, and as for, we don't want to just refer to two places next to each other. So people from Mexico, tourists from Mexico, Mexican tourists. There's quite a lot of phrases we could use to vary that. So summarize, the graph shows that each country has wide and varied preferences. The most marked being Mexico's preference for Madrid, while America's favourite will be Paris, and Canada's Istanbul. Yeah, while I think needs to go there. While America's favourite will be Paris, and Canada's Istanbul. That would be fine. Yeah, so let's concentrate on thinking. You should think to yourself, what am I going to say in response to this question? What's the best way to answer this question? And then, what's the best way to say that in English in an academic essay? So take yourself through the steps. Let's see if over the next couple of essays we can clear up your sentences and get you a 7.5. But thank you for that, Genevieve, and sorry for the slight delay today. We've had a bit of a technical problem here. But I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye, Livy.